Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Toria.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic.
Our neighbors were in the news. Did you see? Yeah, our neighbors.
Oh no, what neighbors?
Nellis Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're our neighbors. They're right at the end of our block, literally.
They're not at the end of our block. They're at the end of our road.
Yeah, that's our block.
Block?
That's our block. It's right out there.
It's like 35
Whoosh.
blocks.
Off it goes, right? And there's our block. But they made it into the news because, you know, there was that stupid Chinese balloon.
Oh, yeah.
And it was over Montana. And they had to go check it out.
Yeah.
And see what was up. And they did. From Nellis Air Force Base.
That's really cool.
Remember the day when we were walking and we were circling the park?
Yeah, and there was all those fighters.
And there was all those fighters going over. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was the day. So that must have been the mission that we saw.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But
It's
see,
interesting, though, because remember I told you they had the two fighters and they had a bomber.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying to you once before is you never know when they're flying a practice mission or a real mission.
Right.
You
It's
just
kind
don't
of freaky.
know. And then when you realize, when you put two and two together from the information you're getting, then you get it. But see, this kind of leads me to what our main topic is.
Is it because you read a headline about it earlier?
Well, but see, I'm not that kind of person. I read the headline and then the article. I don't just read the headline. And if I only read the headline because I'm in a hurry, I will not comment about it until I've read the article. It's just how I am. But we do live now in a headline-driven society. And people will repeat whatever. I mean, I remember something, you know, during one of the presidential campaigns, and I think it was Trump. And they put like, you know, so-and-so has been indicted. And then when you click on the actual headline, it says, "You've been fooled. This was a social experiment, but good on you for actually reading this."
Do you remember the comments on those posts on social media?
Yeah. The people had clearly never read the article based on their comments.
And then there'd be that one glorious person. You fuckwads. Why didn't you read the article?
Yeah, they just called them flat out.
Yeah. Or they would just post a meme and you would know.
But it's a dangerous place for society to go because
It lets the news media completely manipulate the entire
Exactly.
situation in 10 words or less.
Exactly. And then it creates more strife and division because the people who read the article will come together as a group and correct the people who didn't. And the people who didn't will be like, well, but our you know, huge higher power, the news media, said that this was the case. So why are you saying it's not? Why should we listen to you?
Right. And they
Yeah.
won't ever listen and they will never go click on the article link.
No.
And yeah, it's
And
just
so
atrocious.
you're just never out of the problem of division and strife in society. You just aren't. You can't be.
I read all this, and it's not even just the major news media, okay? It's every article. People only read the headlines. And I know this because I read like the shit that relationship rules posts and word porn and, you know, the like bullshit bogus articles that they post. And sometimes I'll get in there and I'm like, this is not what it was supposed to be. Like, not even a little bit.
Well,
And then you go look at the comments and it's the same thing.
well, but yeah, I mean, that's exactly my point.
So people don't even read that shit.
People start going off on things without fully understanding the entire picture of what they're talking about.
Why you follow something if you don't want to read all of what they have to say? Why do you only want to read their sound bites?
Right. It doesn't.
It's why TikTok is popular.
Well, it is because nobody has any kind of attention span anymore. But the point here is the reason it's dangerous is because, like you said, if I'm the media guy, I can shape what you think about a situation based off of the headline. And because you trust me and I said this, then you're going to believe that that I said is the truth.
Right.
And that gives me a lot of power.
Yeah, it does.
Gives me a lot of power. And I really think that that's like what's happened to like Trump, for instance. He got all this power and it went to his freaking head.
Well, yeah.
That's what I think's going on there. And that's, and that's what happens to everybody. Like the power, what is that saying? Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's why people strive for more and more power, but then they become more and more corrupt.
It's kind of fucked up, isn't it?
Screwed up cycle, isn't it?
And all these people say, well, when I get to that position, I won't be that corrupt.
Yeah.
And they run for local city council. They may have no intention of getting corrupt, but that first time that somebody sketchy slips an envelope to them, it begins.
Yeah. That's when the struggle starts for them.
Right.
Are they going to push it back or are they going to take it? That's a big question.
Right.
But see, that's why, to me, the whole concept of people just reading the headlines bothers me. So like what I do, first of all, to make sure that they can't try to say, well, I just didn't feel like summarizing the article, I'll usually make leading comments about the article that are wrong. And then when the person agrees with me, then I'll say, could you show me where it says that in the article? Because I really made that up. They just don't know what to say.
That's funny.
But that's, it's part of the headline-driven society. And if you think about it, we're also guilty of it in a lot of ways because you see a product and it's advertised to you and the headline, for whatever reason, speaks to you. And what do? You go down a rabbit hole with the damn product.
Society has literally become judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Because the photo and headline on social media or the photo and advertising copy on social media is all it takes to get somebody to your website.
Exactly. And we've become more and more shallow. And like someone asked a really good question today on Reddit. They wanted to know, they said people who are potentially older than me, and they were like in their, late 20s, early 30s, like your age, and they wanted to know, has politics always been this divisive and nasty? And I said, no, it didn't really become this divisive and nasty until social media. That's when it became this divisive and nasty.
It gave everybody, because before you would just fight with your weird uncle, Yeah.
But then also everybody had this platform to yell and scream at each other.
Right. So all the weird uncles got on the internet. And now the internet is what it is.
Yeah. It's exactly that. It's the you no longer have to just argue with your weird uncle and then it's over with. And you're the champion of the family on that topic. Right. It's, there's 5 billion other people just like you and just as smart as you that are out there. And unfortunately, the majority of them stoop to being nasty. Yeah. Exactly.
Keyboard warriors at their finest.
Keyboard warriors is such a perfect term for that situation, because that's what people do, is they hide behind the keyboard. Clackety clack. They would never say what they said to your face. Now, I don't think I've maybe more than twice said something to someone online that I wouldn't have said to their face. Other than that, the things I've said to people, I would say to their face. And I think people instinctively understand that, and that's why they think that I'm being rude because I'm direct. But I'm sorry, if you're going to quote me a headline and then I'm going to say, well, the reason that doesn't work is because XYZ. And then you're like, the article doesn't talk about XYZ. Yeah, it does, you dingus. Did you not read the article? I mean, clearly you didn't read the article. You just based your decisions off of the headline and who the source was. And if the source agrees with your ideology, or your ideology agrees with the source, more likely, you go for it. Well, that's stupid. That's pack mentality, right? That's just following along because those other people said it's okay. And that's the problem with the headline readers. They do become the majority. What does that have to say about society? They're like the majority.
Well, you used to only get your news from the newspaper, where there'd be a headline, and then the whole story is right there. You don't have to, like, click, wait for ads to load, all this bullshit.
Well, and also, interestingly, I was telling somebody this the other day. Didn't matter if you watched ABC News, CBS News, or NBC News. Didn't matter. Because they all told the same stories.
Right.
And the only thing that was different would be like the, investigative reporter. That's how back then the way the news differentiated itself so that it could attract fans was the weather person. And yeah, it's true. Weather person and like an investigative reporter who's like, 7 on your side, that kind of thing. And then the guy helps you out. And so that would be the differentiator because, the ABC, CBS, and NBC would all have the same news and they'd all report basically the same exact thing. They didn't really hardcore spin it left or right. They would just report.
Right.
And then you got to decide which parts of the story you believed more.
The news here, it's super, super biased now. And I totally heard all of what you just said about how it used to be. The news, like there's like a 10-minute news segment and then like a 10-minute kind of political segment and then 10 minutes of like the investigative reporters you were talking about. That's what the Canadian half hour of news is like that like my dad watches.
Okay.
And the first 10 minutes of it, it's definitely news. Like it's not biased news. That 10 minutes wouldn't have covered the trucker convoy going across the country or anything like that. It was just this horrific car accident over here, meat recall over here,
Yeah.
And I like that. You could tune
Easy
in before
facts
opinion
to
time.
easy facts to just throw out there.
Right. And then the next half an hour after that first 30 minutes is an opinion show. You don't want
Which you don't have to watch.
Right.
You can turn it off.
But the news here it's just a barf of opinion at you the entire time. From the smirk they're wearing when they start reading the story.
Yeah. No, you're right. And it's all aimed at one end result, swaying your opinion in the direction that they believe in. And like we said, giving them power. And I don't understand how people always miss that point, that they keep giving the media more and more power.
Right.
And then they're like, why does the media control everything? Because you let them.
World needs to call them on their crap.
Exactly. I mean, you can't just keep handing them the keys to the kingdom and expecting something to change, because it's not going to change unless you make the change happen.
Right.
So I think that what I find interesting is exactly what I've been saying to Republicans when Democrats were in power. I now have to say to Democrats about Republicans being in power.
Right, because they're all the same.
Because I say, you guys, hey, do you remember, last time when they said this about you? And you said, that's bullshit. That's just politics, blah, 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 blah. Why is it not just bullshit and politics when you're doing it against them?
Right.
What makes it different? And nobody has an answer.
It's either all bullshit in politics or none of it's bullshit in politics.
Exactly. They're either both validly upset or they're both not validly upset. It's that simple. It's either a yes or a no. It can't be a one yes, one no.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that society as a whole does a very crappy job of making its own decisions.
Yeah, you're right.
Look at what's huge on the market. What do you see all the time as an entrepreneur? Oh, 52 proven weekly email newsletters that you can easily customize for any niche.
And they're just trash.
And they're just, garbage templates that nobody spent any time thinking about.
Right.
But they put it there because it makes the people who don't know what to do, like really know what to do, feel better. But the problem is it's not helping them. It's not teaching them to do it. It's bad. I mean, I always hate to quote religious things, but Jesus, the Jesus-y people always tell you, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime.
Right.
And that's what, I think you have to teach people shit. And that's important. And we as a society don't bother to dig in and try and learn about shit either. Too many people, you ask them stuff about, well, like look at the survey we did about my sales page that time. Some of the responses made me think, did you even look at the page?
Right.
And you're just like, but see, the problem with that kind of an attitude is those freaking people exist.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
They do exist. So you
100%.
do have to kind of have an answer for those kinds of people. But I digress, and I went off on a tangent.
Well, and the CEO is jumping on me. I think he's tired of listening to us talk. So
I know what he wants. He wants his nightly go outside after eating because they ate right before we casted, if you'll remember.
Well, on that note, good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.